Greetings and welcome to the Fighting Dirty Podcast, a show about tabletop games, and as always, we are brought to you through the magic of the internet. On this episode, we will discuss all the latest games that we've had hit the table. We will also delve deep into the latest gaming news and gossip in our dirt sheets. I'm your host, Matthew Wright, and I am joined as always by Gary Baxter. Gary, welcome to episode 12 of the Fighting Dirty Podcast.
We're here, and we're doing it live. This is coming to you live.
We're streaming live?
Yep.
To no one.
Yep, we're here, we're doing it live. Hey, I've had something really interesting happen. So, we got a foreign exchange student, and I had this really strange encounter happen. Hey, Bjorn, roll these dice. Hey, you got a 6! Equip that sword of righteousness.
999. First I must harvest the ore from the earth. Then I will forge an ore into a bill of steel required to create this blade. However, I have no more workers.
No. You already have the sword equipped. You just roll the dice and you see how many enemies you kill. Ah, 20! Whoa!
Was ist los? I'm out of workers. I have to feed my workers before they can harvest the crops.
Oh my God.
We have no time for war.
No. You just rolled a natural 20 on the side, so that means you killed every enemy and you get all the loot. So you identify these magic items when you go back into town. So you got 25 gold now. That'll come in handy when you want to buy some better armor. You'll gain an equal number of experience.
Excuse me. When do we fertilize the garden or feed the livestock?
I've been crawling in this dungeon for more than 10 hours throughout these various scenarios, and I've never had to eat. That's just not what we do. I don't sleep. My sole purpose is to kill, loot, upgrade, and conquer for the sanctity of my homeland. We need to return to town now, and here's what we'll do. We're going to upgrade our gear and our characters. Roll the dice again and see if you can recall the town.
Conquer? When do you construct a library or theater to ensure the happiness of your people?
You're never going to construct anything. Listen, your recall failed, and you have been lost in time and space. Now your character is lost along with all of his belongings. That really sucks. You had some really good loot. However, I've made it into town. I might be able to influence an alchemist or someone at the Curiosity Shop to assist with bringing you back. In the meantime, you might want to look at one of the other characters in the box. There's a really fun rogue in there and the paladin yet to be claimed. Just take a look in there.
Lost in time and space? What do you mean I'm lost? I just wanted to get to town and meet with the workers about my livestock, about my goods. Who would take our produce to market?
Yep, that's a 19. I killed you. Get the hell out of here.
That didn't happen.
No, it didn't. But you can imagine if it did happen, right?
I could imagine.
Well, how's it been going?
Things have been going fairly well. Big lifestyle things going on, changes. I quit my job. I got a different job. I'm in the process of moving. Things have been insane. What's been going on with you?
Man, I've just been working nonstop. We've had softball going on, obviously, but I've just been trying to work over the summer, get some extra cash so we can save up for some Geneva Conclave, have some extra money when we go there. I want to eat right like we do when we go there. I want to buy some games, but you know, when we were talking about, I don't know if we're going to get into this later, but we might as well just get into it now. We've decided that we're going to do things a little bit differently here at Gencon this year. Every year that we've done this, I feel like we kind of get stuck in a rut. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
This year, I want to change things up. I want to hit the vendor hall, and I really want to demo a bunch of games and just take my time. I feel like I'm always in a rush. You know, I want to get in there and get the hottest thing, which I'll probably do initially, but then I just feel like I blast through the halls because I'm like, I've seen this, done that, yeah. And I feel like I miss a lot, you know what I mean? Because I hear people come out and they're like, whoa, did you demo this? Did you demo that? And I'm always like, no, I don't have time to wait around. And, you know, a lot of times, I mean, at most you'll have to wait like 30, 40 minutes to demo a Fantasy Flight game. But if you sit there a good 10, 15 minutes, you can get into demos. But you have to be patient, and I get very impatient.
I agree. I find myself wandering aimlessly. Like, there's the initial rush. I always have a plan, but then once that plan's over, it's like it just kind of falls apart, and so it's very loosely scheduled after that. You know, there's certain times I want to get into the auction hall, but after that, I wander the hall aimlessly, like searching for some deal that I think's going to miraculously appear,
right?
And it never really does. And it's just in my mind, it's like, oh, there's some deal in here that I gotta go find. And it's like, you spend all this time just wandering, looking for the deal, and like not as much time enjoying everything that they have to offer there, which is an opportunity to meet with designers, to talk with them, to get to demo the game, to enjoy the game, to ask your questions and get it figured out. And so, like, one time I bought a game there and then went, because I like read through the rule book. I didn't demo it, I just bought it, and then went back the next day and had him, the demo person, clarify something that I had messed up, and it was like, that was really good. That was a really good way to utilize my experience there. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Right, and I feel like when I demo certain games, sometimes that really helps me decide whether I really, really want this game or if I don't. Because there's a lot of games that I'll just pick up and just assume that it's going to be good. And I've kind of been burnt in the past. I mean, they're fine, but I feel like if I just do my due diligence, I can even save money and save time, essentially. Because I'm bad about, just like every board gamer on the entire planet, is buying games, goes to the shelf, you don't play it. So I really want to go in there, and I might find some gems. I might find a game that I'm not really that interested in, then it might be right in my wheelhouse. So I just really want to hit that vendor hall hard. I want to demo a bunch of stuff and just take my time. You know, you have 4 days to do stuff, and I honestly feel I get so bored that I waste half the time just be like, what should we do? And we're all like, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? And we get stuck in an infinite loop of boring boredness.
Well, and that's one thing to consider also, is when you get in groups of people, like, a lot of times people just want to please other people in that situation, so you have to be a little assertive and kind of steer the group in the right direction. So,
well, I think that's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten was from you. You were actually like, I'm not responsible for other people's happiness. And I was a really bad offender of that, doing that in the past, wanting everyone to have a good time. But as I've gotten older, man, I'm not going to be here forever. I need to be happy too. So, you know
no,
what?
And that was really just in reference to, like, there are so many people there. We have so many friends that we meet up with, and it's just hard to please everybody simultaneously. Somebody's always like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I gotta take a shit. You know, like, there's just too many people to please, and I'm nobody's mom, so, like, I don't care enough to not responsible for that part. I'm just going to take care of myself in those situations.
Exactly. Well, let's go ahead and we'll move on to our segment, What You Been Playing?
So what you been playing?
What you been playing?
Well, recently I've been playing Azul.
I played Azul with you, too.
I know. It was awesome. And I waited forever to buy it, and because I'd quit my job, I kind of... The last thing
you decided the first thing you should do is buy stuff. No.
You know, it was like a process. It wasn't like I abruptly quit my job, but, you know, I put my notice in and all that stuff, and so I kind of was trying to put my spending on hiatus. Mm-hmm. So the last big thing I bought was the Batman game on Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, like, you know, all in on that. And then I was like, no more games. I'm not buying any games for a while. I was like, well, I need something. So with one of my last paychecks, I ordered that on Cool Stuff. It was in stock.
Cool Stuffy.
And it was here, like, on my first day of unemployment, and so we started playing it, and it is everything that people have been talking about. It is that good. I'm really impressed with this game from Plan B Games, and Azul, just real simply put, it's an abstract game where you're kind of drafting tiles, and you're trying to score points with these tiles, and you do that by getting collections of the same color or by getting rows of different colors, and you score points for doing that. And so it's really simple. Right. It is so simple to play. You can play it with your grandma, your mom, a little kid. I think it's going to be one of those games that sits in people's collections for a long time because it's so easy to play and it's really fun.
I feel like it's in the vein of like Ticket to Ride and, you know, games of that caliber where it's easy to play, and once you play it, you can play a bunch of games of it in a row. I liked it a lot. When we were playing, I was like, look at my quilt. And you're like, what are you talking about? I was like, aren't we building quilts? And you're like, I don't know. We're just building patterns. So it's really, really fun. I like it a lot. So what happens is there's just there's a certain amount of tiles depending on how many players are in the game. So you set them out, and then you'll put all the tiles on the little circles, and then each player will pick one. And when you pick a color, the remaining patterns will then go into the middle. You can look at other players' tiles and say, well, if I pick this red, it's going to put these 3 blue in the middle. I know he doesn't need blue, so I'm going to wait till he picks another one, put more blue, and then I'm going to pick 4 or 5 blue. So there's a little bit of strategy to it. It's very, very simple, and it's something that should play quick. I remember at one point you got locked up hard. You're like, man, I have so much AP right now. I'm like, pick a color, let's go. But it wasn't even that bad. So when you get AP in this game, it's maybe a 30-second AP as opposed to like 2 minutes or something like that. It's a really great light game. I liked it a lot. I'm glad you picked it up. That's Azul by Plan B Games.
So what you been playing?
Well, I've been playing Civilization: A New Dawn. I picked this up a while ago, and I've yet to play it with other people. So I did a learner's game. I played 3 players by myself, and I really, really like the mechanics of this game. It's very, very unique. So what happens is you're going to have a tableau with 5 cards underneath it. What you're going to do is trigger one of these cards, and each row will have a difficulty. So like the first one will be like grasslands, which is a level 1, all the way up to mountains, which is level 5. So every terrain is in between those, okay? So I may trigger the 3rd card in the middle. You pull it down slightly from your tableau, letting everyone know that's what card you're doing. So a lot of times it'll say, move your caravan up to this many spaces onto that particular terrain. So obviously mountain is the hardest terrain. It gets in the 5th spot. So when you do that, you pull your card down from the tableau, and then when you're done activating it, then you shift the cards over, and that card goes to the level 1 spot. So what you kind of want to do is get the cards in your tableau to shift to the right so that you can maximize their effectiveness. Okay, so like with combat, when you do combat, if it's in the level 1 space, you're only going to get a +1, but when you do it in the level 5, you're going to get a +5 to your dice roll. So it's really, really neat. You shift these cards around, and it's really meaningful. The combat is really, really abstract, so there's no like armies or anything on the board. Instead, what you do is when you use your culture card, you'll put tokens on the board denoting that you own that spot. You've claimed that spot. So when you attack, it'll say attack from 2 spaces out from a token you own or a city, depending on how far you've leveled up that card. So then you do that, and then you roll the dice depending on where your combat card is. You'll add that modifier on there. So it's really, really strange. There's not like army. Instead you're using like your culture and influence. You know, obviously, it may be a city or a civilization that has more area will obviously have a larger army, but that's not necessarily always true. You know, so it's strange. It's kind of weird, but the mechanics of the game are very, very simple. I feel like once we play a few rounds in, we're going to start blasting through the turns, and I'm very, very excited to play this. I think we're going to play this after we're actually done podcasting tonight, so we'll see how it goes. What I also like is you can upgrade every time that you do a technology card, depending on where it is in the row. So say it's in the level 4 spot, you activate that, and it's in the level 4 spot. Then you take your little dial and you'll twist it to four spots over. So there's 24 on there. And every 5 or so, it lets you upgrade a card. So whenever you get it there, you get to take a card from your little deck and upgrade one of the basic 5 cards in your tableau. So not everyone's going to be upgrading the same stuff. So some people may be attack heavy, so they'll upgrade that. Some may want to get technology really, really fast, so they'll upgrade that one so they can go quicker. Some may be using their caravan, so they'll upgrade the caravan card. So it's really, really unique. I like that about the game. I'm not sure if this game's going to have a bunch of legs. I don't feel like it's something that I could play every month, but I think it'd be a fun game to pull out every now and then and play. But we'll see. Like I said, I've now played with more people, so I can't really speak authoritatively on it, but maybe next podcast we'll be able to extrapolate more on it.
And that was Civilization: A New Dawn from Fantasy Flight Games.
How about you? What have you been playing?
I have been burning up Through the Ages on
As
Steam.
have I.
And I know that's a computer game and not your normal tabletop game, but this is a very fun way to access a game that normally takes many, many hours. So Through the Ages just came out a few months ago on Steam, and it's just Through the Ages 2nd edition, but now you can play it as a video game, and it is amazing.
It's phenomenal.
It is amazing. I put over 100 hours on that game and only won a few times. It is addicting. and it is simply my favorite Euro game that I've ever played.
Yeah.
I love it. At first, it seemed a little much, but after playing a few rounds, it got easier and easier, and then playing a few games. And the more games you play, it's like the more you want to keep playing because the strategies you start trying to think of for the next game. Because you're like, well, I've screwed this game up.
Yeah.
So
and you know when you did, you're like, I should have did this.
Yeah.
And because in multiplayer games, if you don't have a strong army, you're just getting hammered nonstop. You're just the easiest target. And it's...
Yeah, and so the game, very simply, if you haven't played through the ages, it's just a civilization building game. You're going to be controlling workers. You're going to be trying to upgrade your civilization through the course of several ages, and you're going to have leaders that help you do that, and you're going to develop technologies, and you're going to score a lot of points along the way, and you're going to get locked up with analysis paralysis because the hardest of decisions must be made, and you must gauge your workers' happiness, your population's happiness. You must avoid corruption. It is so good and so fun, and I love playing this one, and I can't wait to actually play the tabletop version now with some people who already know how to play it. This game would be very hard to teach, and it would be a daunting task to play with new people if you were the only person who had played it. So I would rather play this with some people who have actually played the computer game, because I feel like it would be, the version that's on Steam. It would just be so much easier to set up and play and keep the game flowing, because at least someone would have an idea if you got a hiccup, those types of things. So I've really enjoyed this game, and I can't wait to try it on the table. But until then, I'm going to keep playing it on Steam.
This is one of the heaviest games I have ever played. It's currently ranked number 3 on Board Game Geek, and I totally understand why. This is the one that I wanted to pick up for the longest time. You and I kept talking about it nonstop, and then one day you're just like, I bought Through the Ages, and I was like, dude, we got to play this. And I remember a while ago, you go, I read the rule book, let's sit down and play it. And we were going to, and for some reason I think extra people showed up, and thank God, because that would have been miserable, because I know that first game would have just been mayhem, because we would have been in that rule book non-stop. Because I remember I had to play I think 4 or 5 games before I really grasped a lot of the concepts, how the workers worked, how to avoid corruption, and even how the drafting works and what I should be drafting. That first game would have just been awful. And man, sometimes you play the greatest games of all time, and if they're taught wrong, you just don't like them. I'm not saying that you would have taught that wrong at all.
I would have taught it wrong.
I think I would have too.
We would have brutalized that game.
Oh man. But this game is it's in my top 10 for sure. 100% it's in my top 10. I like you said, I've put 100 hours into this game, and I've loved every single second of it. I remember the first time, it probably took 20 games until I beat the computer on easy, and I was so happy. I remember I was texting you. I was like, dude, I finally beat him. And the other day, I finally beat him on hard, and it was difficult. And I was so close the game before. Fucking Bill Gates, dude. He screws me every single time. Him and Sid Meier, they screw me every single time. Warmongers, assholes. But anyways, this game is absolutely phenomenal. I understand the hype completely. It is one of the heaviest games I've ever played. It has so much AP in it. I remember I'll do turns on Steam, and you can undo what you do. And I'll use every one of my action points, and I'm like, no, that's not what I should do. Undo them all. Take my turn again. Nope, that's terrible. And I'll take sometimes I'll just be so locked up with AP that I'll take 5 or 6 total turns and undo it completely and then redo them. So I am in absolute awe of how this game works, because you're drafting, you're placing workers, and you're managing your army. And there's so many meaningful decisions, and you're like, man, should I have done this? And sometimes you get lucky and make the right one. Sometimes you screw up your game completely.
You learn more and more about the game every time you play it. You start to remember which things start to happen in which ages. So you start to plan ahead, because you know that in age 2 this is going to come out, and you want that. You don't want to start building a wonder if it's at the end of the age of A, and I know that these new wonders are coming out in age 1 that are better because I
Right.
know what the wonders are, then I'm going to wait for those wonders to come out. And it's just the more you know. So it's very important to know which leader you're trying to build up towards.
Right.
You know, and there are kind of leaders who line up in the same vein that will lead you to this next leader. So it's like, you know, if I'm going to get Genghis Khan, I'm probably going to work my way up to Napoleon, and I'm probably going to work, you know, I'm going to work my way up to those types of characters, and I'm going to
Winston Churchill.
To Winston Churchill, you know, and I'm really going to warmonger along the way. Or I might go in the science route, and I might go with
some Gandhi. Yeah, so you can protect yourself.
Absolutely. But early on, I might go with Da Vinci and then work my way to Sid Meier or Bill Gates or something like that. And so you got to have these things in mind. And if you're a new player, you don't have that strategy. So.
I also feel like when I first started, I always overextended myself. So it always feels like you need to upgrade every single building, which you kind of do, but you can get happiness. The more happiness you have, the more workers you can have. You can get happiness through other avenues like wonders and things like that, and even leaders. So you don't need to overdo the happiness. So sometimes I felt like I overextended myself doing like churches and things like that. Or other times I'll upgrade everything like to level 2. And sometimes you just shouldn't do that. Sometimes you should just do a bunch of production, a little bit of happiness, and a bunch of science, you know. And then you're kind of hamstring on food, but then you can get leaders that reduce the food costs, things like that. So instead of like upgrading everything, you got to really look at what is available and upgrade accordingly, you know. Because there's times where I'll upgrade stuff and then I'm like, man, I have not upgraded my army. And then you just start getting hammered by multiple players. So it's such a good game. There's so much to it. This game has probably the longest legs of any game I've ever played. I feel like I could play this 100 times and it'd be fun still. So
well, I've already played it 100 times.
I probably have,
and I keep coming back for more.
I love it. So that's Through the Aegis by CGE.
Right. So what else you been playing?
Well, funny you ask that. I've been playing League of Legends lately, and just recently they had a major patch where they changed a lot of the game. So generally in League of Legends, the top lane is usually a tank, mid lane someone who does a bunch of magic damage. In the jungle, it can kind of be a mix of damage or someone who's a tank. And in the bottom lane, it's someone who's called a marksman. They usually have a gun and a long auto attack range. And then a support player who heals them or keeps them alive. And what they do is peel for them, which means they keep people away from them. It's called peeling, okay, like a banana. So if someone's coming at them, they stop them so they can peel away, and you just keep shooting them while they're protecting you, okay? Well, recently they nerfed the ADC marksman in the bot lane, so it's changed the game completely. So instead of having someone who can auto-attack range, because they got nerfed so hard, they've been putting like bruisers in the bot lane, I'm sorry. Bruisers are people who are like kind of in between tanks and in between someone who does a bunch of damage. They're like fighters, so because they nerfed the stats on ADs so hard, it's been a really weird adjustment. So if you go against someone in the bot lane who's an auto attacker, usually you can, because their regen is so low now, you can trade with them because bruisers have better regen now, so they can be protected, or if they have a support player who's protecting them, they can take a lot of these auto attacks because they're just getting healed back up and not marksmen aren't doing enough damage. So the game's totally changed. There's been games where, in professional play even, where there's no marksmen in the game at all. Everyone's just like melee damage in League of Legends, so it's been just kind of a cluster lately. Everyone's trying to figure out what the best team compositions are, and it's the Wild West right now, so it's so weird. It's so strange, and it's kind of neat, but it's kind of crappy because these professional teams haven't had a lot of time to practice it, so even the players in the solo queue don't know what the best is right now. So I see people copy what the pros are doing, and they don't know why the pros are doing it, so they just get pooped on. You know what I mean? And the games, because of this, the games are going a lot faster. They're sitting at like 25 minutes. They're going really, really quick as opposed to those like 40-minute games. And you know, I've gotten older. I don't get to play as much as I do, so I have trouble adapting lately. You know, I can't put in the time that a lot of people can. So it's been difficult, but I just try to stick to my guns, and I play a lot of bot lane, so I've just sticking with the marksman, and I've just been taking my beatings, you know. So because I feel like they're gonna buff them back, and then everything will kind of bounce back to normal. So that's pretty much what's been going on with League of Legends. It's just been a cluster, and the summer split for professional play just started, so it's kind of gearing back up to league time. So You been playing any video games at all or anything?
Since I'm kind of in between places, I'm in the process of moving and stuff, and the internet is not so great.
So great
in the boonies, and so not a whole lot. And if I was playing some Overwatch, and I was playing some Fortnite. I got a game for my birthday from our friend Chad. He gave me a video game, The Last of Us. So
he gave that to you?
I haven't got to play it yet, but I will.
Oh my gosh, you should.
I have it. So that's on my list. Probably the next game I'm going to play.
Cool.
So.
Well, in between games of League, I've went back to Fallout 4. I've already beat it, and I've played probably 60-some hours of it. I don't know if I'm going to go back to it. I put in a good 20 hours, and I realized why I didn't enjoy it. It's just really bland and boring. I'm not really enjoying it. The game has a lot of generated quests, and I did a bunch of them over and over, so my guy's really leveled up. And I'm not really going after the story, so that may be a lot of why I'm not enjoying it. Maybe I should just kind of get back to the main quest line and start going through that. But I've already beat it, so I know what the quest line is. And so I just don't feel like there's that sense of wonder that there is in Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and even Fallout 1 and 2, which I play every single year and beat every single year. Fallout 4 is just kind of a dud for me. But with Fallout 76, have you seen anything?
I just saw the initial trailer.
It seems like it's going to be like Left 4 Dead / Borderlands-ish in the Fallout universe.
Okay.
So it's a you get like a roaming band and you go around and you fight other roaming bands of players. So there's going to be PvP, and I think it's up to like 26 people on a map. So the chances of running into someone isn't like every single time you're going to run into somebody, but you will be able to find people. There's always going to be like hot spots and stuff that people are going to want to farm. So I think it's going to be really neat. We should get into that. I think it'd be fun to get into the Fallout universe and fight people and do a bunch of damage. There's going to be nuclear silos around the world, so you can go to these nuclear silos, and if each of you have a key, you turn the key and the silo can shoot wherever you guys want on the map, and it just annihilates every, like, wherever that little piece of the map is that you shoot it. So if you know people are farming there, you guys can go to a silo, shoot it, and hopefully kill them there on the map. So I think that's really cool. I think if they execute this well, this could be an amazing co-op game. So I'm super excited about that. That's why I kind of started playing Fallout 4 again. But also, a couple weeks ago, we finally got to get Great Western Trail to the board by Stronghold Games. And you had never played it before. And this had been the game that me, my wife Amanda, and my friend Dustin and Mark had played the most the year that I got this game. I don't know why I bought this game. I saw it on Cool Stuff. It was on sale, and I was just like, I'm going to buy this. And it literally wasn't on my radar at all. I hadn't heard much about it. I had heard some people say it's a fun game, but the art on the front of the box is awful. The art on the pieces is good, is fine, but the front of the box looks terrible. It's like 4 guys, and they're just sitting, like, one's a conductor, one's a cowboy, and neither one of them look the part. And I bought the game, and I didn't know what to expect. And this game is for sure in my top 5. I love Great Western Trail. We played the crap out of this game, and I wanted to know what you thought of this. But now that you finally got it here, what'd you think?
I really enjoy playing Great Western Trail. I've been waiting a long time to play this. I don't know how it was that I hadn't got to play it. I know it'd been a couple Gen Cons ago that this game came out. I agree, the box artwork is just god-awful. They look like soulless cowboys.
They do.
Like, it makes no sense. But the artwork in the game is very good. It's a Stronghold game, so I come to expect something being off when it comes to
artistically or componently. Or
when it comes to components or the art, something is off. The mechanics of the game were great. Yeah. Super easy to pick up. Really, just a lot of fun. And we played it, and I probably took less than 2 hours or something like that to actually teach and play. And I look forward to playing it again. So that was really my initial impressions from it. I enjoyed it. It feels like, it's light, but not too light.
Yeah.
But it's heavy, but not too heavy.
It's just right.
It's just right. It's just right. And in my opinion, after playing a lot of Stronghold games, I feel like it's the best overall, when you include the artwork and the pieces and all that stuff, of any of the games.
You like it better than Terraforming Mars?
Yes. Terraforming Mars is probably the best mechanical game they've ever come up with, but the art kills me sometimes on the cards.
Yeah.
And the cubes being such poor quality and the stuff rubbing off after very few playthroughs.
Yeah.
And the tableaus being just a catastrophe if you bump it. So that all weighed very heavily on me. So yes, I feel like they're both very, very, very good games, but I feel like this is their best overall completion game.
I do too. I really do. I love this game, and I would play it every time we played board games, to be honest. I really like that the game also scales up really well, so it doesn't matter if you have 2 or 4. It doesn't feel like you're waiting forever for your turn, because you either move a certain speed, that person does a couple actions, and then it's the next person's turn. And, you know, when that person's taking their turn and they're picking up their stuff, the next person can go and take their stuff. And there's been times where, I mean, we played with a couple slower players, and we played with one when you played, and we caught up to him a couple times. We're like, take your turn, come on. But it's nothing like Through the Ages where you get locked up and stuff. I love the game. I love the mechanics. I love the train. I love that you have to decide whether, do I upgrade my train early or do I get a bunch of workers early? You know, and it's so fun. I love this game so much. And it's a rondel. You just go around and around and around until the end game triggers. And it's fun the entire time. It's fun. It's fun from the very beginning to the very end. And I remember when you were first playing, you're like, I don't have any money. I can't do anything. I was like, I know, man. I go, trust me. You get through quick. And you start building up some cash, and then you started just kicking in. You got it pretty easy, and the game was pretty close. Well,
no, it wasn't.
I'm the Great Western Trail master. No, it wasn't.
Not close.
It was not close at all.
Second and third was close.
Second and third was close. That's what I'm saying. I love this game, and when we played with my wife, Mark, and DDR, Dustin won a couple, but a lot of times it was a fight for second, to be honest. That's Great Western Trail by Stronghold Games. Phenomenal game.
Let's check out all the latest board game news and gossip in the dirt sheets.
The Gencon preview is available.
All right.
Seems really early.
It is. I know. It's finally up in time where I can actually look through it. And I looked through a little bit, and the thing that I found that excited me the most was the Great Western Trail expansion. The Great Western Trail, Trails to the North. We got to get this. We got to play it. I'm going to bring Great Western Trail to Gen Con. We already talked about a couple of the games we're going to bring, and I think we should bring this. I think Roger would really enjoy it. I feel like we can drink some brews, play some Great Western Trail. We pop that expansion in. We can rustle some cattle. Get some I looked through it. I didn't really see a good explanation of what they're adding. I went through the whole preview, and you can actually thumb up like what you like, and you can actually put interested, not interested at all. So they're going to obviously add more and more. Like Fantasy Flight wasn't even on there, but this one I thumbs up, bookmarked it, interested. I can't wait, man. This one I'm for sure getting. Great Western Trail, the Trails to the North expansion.
That Gen Con tool in the last couple years that they've really upgraded it. And because of that, it helps so much with sorting and seeing what other people are salivating for, and I just love it. It just seems really early, but I guess it's convention season.
Yeah.
You know, Origins just ended, and so now to me it's the countdown to Gen Con.
Oh yeah.
So we're at the tail end of June.
Yep.
And it'll be first weekend in August, so we only have a few weeks to get ready for this.
I'm starting to get those little pangs of Gen Con fever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like full out, but going through that preview, I was just like, oh. And then when I saw the expansion for Great Western Trail, I was like, oh, I'm getting that. I'm going straight to Stronghold every year. I've missed out on all these games at Stronghold every single year. I had Terraforming Mars in my hands when it came out at Gen Con, and I was like, this looks like shit. I know I've said this before, and I put it down. I remember seeing Great Western Trail, and I was like, all their art, why? Like, seriously, I've got to recalibrate, Matt. I've got to look at Stronghold art differently. The worse it is, the better the game's gonna be. I need to be like, oh, dude, this is the one.
Give me the game with the worst
that
box
right there
and the worst components. Oh, those pieces just fall off for no reason. I want that one.
Yes.
I bet that game's great. Just put some super glue on that shit.
Number one BGG first week, yeah. I know. I seriously have to recalibrate. You know, whereas with like Fantasy Flight, you can get duped because their art is the shit.
Always.
And I'm like, man, that looks so good. Do I really need Twilight Imperium 4 for $150? Maybe. But no, Stronghold is not that way at all. They skimp on some stuff, but I'm really surprised how many games they have lately that have just been in like the top 20. I mean, they're killing it. So I mean, they're doing something right.
I love having the tool, the Gencon tool.
Yes.
I love getting the tool
Yes.
early, so I can access these games.
I like it.
It's very nice.
And it works well. It's actually the best feature on BGG.
Gosh, that website's so insufferable at times to operate.
I know.
But the Gencon tool is very good. Things will get added all the way up to Gencon, and it won't even encompass everything that's there. So
Why can't the website be like the tool? I don't understand.
I
Like,
don't
what the
know.
hell is going on?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. But I like to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and really plot out where I want to go and what I want to see. But it's almost sometimes, it gives me bad, almost like if I see so many people saying not interested, then all of a sudden I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And it can almost be bad. So first impressions, judging a book by its cover, all that stuff. And I know a lot of games now, you have so much information at your disposal prior to it. A lot of these, you can get the rule book in PDF form. There's going to be a how-to video. There's going to be a lot of stuff out there for you to consume to make that judgment. I hope people are doing that before they hit the thumbs down, because that can lead a bad impression, and I might just walk by a good game because, well, I saw 500 people thumbs downed it on that.
Right.
You know, I'm just saying. So,
Well,
take it all with a grain of salt.
And you know that happens on BGG anyways, because there's a war for first place always. So when certain games were becoming number one, it got brigaded where people were going, giving it ones and zeros and stuff to try and knock it down. So, yeah, I mean, that happens on anything. So you really can't go by the thumbs down and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of times there's reasons too, which can lead into our next topic here. There's reasons that happen, like designers sexually harassing people, that people come in and thumbs down games. So
Sure.
the little next piece of news, you can go to Reddit. There's a thread over there. There's some sexual harassment going on supposedly at Origins. We're not going to say whether it happened or not. It's allegedly, but you know, I don't want to really get into this too much. I don't know how. All right, I want to restart here.
Context.
All right, yes.
Give it context.
I've seen sexual harassment both towards men and women. I don't see it often enough. You know, I don't see it all the time, whereas I feel like people lead you to believe that it's constant. Maybe it is with certain areas and groups and stuff that doesn't get addressed, but I don't see it a lot. And this is just me personally. I'm not saying that it does or doesn't happen. This is just my personal experience. I don't see a lot of it just openly happening nonstop. But when it does happen, it needs to be taken seriously. And what happened is this girl supposedly had dick pics sent to her, unwanted advances, things of that nature. And she wrote about it. She didn't name any names. So there's not a name out there per se, but somewhere in the thread they supposedly named the designer who did it. I don't want to name it even on here.
So it's a game designer, and
Yes.
she was what, a customer?
She was a demoer of this game designer. She was demoing the game.
Working at Origins as probably a volunteer.
Correct.
For a gaming company.
Yes.
And then a designer got her number and started sending her dick pics. So, okay.
Yes.
That's the information we have.
Yeah, you can read through it later. You know, I didn't want to really get deep into this. I just wanted to kind of touch on it and let people make their own assertions and assumptions, etc. But yeah, supposedly she was demoing the game, and he said something. I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. He said something like "demo this dick" or something like that. Something crazy. You know what I mean? That's not cool. That's unacceptable. You know. And I just wish I was in the thread and I was getting trashed because I said, Nate, call this guy out, you know, because this isn't cool. Fuck this guy, you know, if he did it. And people were like, victims have a right to, you know, call people out and et cetera, you know, things like that. And I understand totally. If she's not cool with this, I was just saying, me personally, you know, call this guy out because I don't want to buy this guy's shit. If he's sending dick pics to chicks, he's in a position of power.
He is.
He is using this girl's time and her money, you know what I mean, to demo his game. and he's sending dick pics. He's in a position of power. This isn't funny. It's not cool. I personally wish she would call him out because I would support her, and I know a lot of people would.
Right.
I support her regardless that she didn't. That's fine. If she, because everyone deals with stress differently.
Absolutely.
You know, and she may not want this. She just brought it to light that this supposedly was happening. My worry is that if this guy doesn't get called out, he's going to keep showing his dick to people that don't want to see it, and it's not cool.
And that's the sad thing. It's convention season. So this weekend, that guy was in Columbus, Ohio for Origins.
Right.
Next weekend, he's somewhere else.
Yeah.
With a whole new group of people demoing games, a whole new group of girls. Like, if she didn't know the guy previously, that means over the course of the weekend, he got to know her. He got her number. He sent her the dick pic. There was a conversation that happened there. You don't think he's doing that every town he goes to?
Right.
To every...
Yeah, exactly.
Every girl or boy who's working his booth, his or her booth, I don't even know.
Right.
You know what I mean? But, yes. So
a lot comes with that. A lot comes with that naming this guy though, because dudes are gonna come out of the woodwork, not just dudes. People are gonna come out of the woodwork and say, "I don't believe you. I know this guy. He would never do this." And you're gonna have to deal with that. People calling you a liar, and I don't think. I think if it got named, I think she would have more support than she would a negative backlash. But it is going to be there, and you're going to have to deal with it. So not a lot of people want to deal with that because you've got a bunch of random people on the internet calling you out for stuff that supposedly something horrible happened to you, and they don't even know you. So it's such a shitty situation. This shouldn't have happened to this person. And I hope this guy does get called out by someone else and named so that it can be dealt with because, fuck you. Well, speaking of evil, Matthew.
Yeah, this is really evil. This is god-awful evil. God evil is what this is. This is broken news. This is old news, but it's the Evil Dead game that was on Kickstarter within the last year or so from Space Goat Games. They got the Evil Dead 2 license. They asked for your money back this game. It's something we talked about in one of the earliest episodes of the Fighting Dirty podcast. We asked whether to roll the dice or save the cash in this game, and we told you, save your cash.
Oh, we did?
Yes.
Good. See, we know.
We know, because what happened here is this company is not doing well. They're asking for more money. They're looking for further funding, and both of their games, the Terminator game, the Terminator license game, and the Evil Dead 2 license game, are both
in trouble.
In a lot of trouble. And may not possibly ship. They need your money. And this is just the darkest side of what this crowdfunding era has become. Is that for every CMON game that has guaranteed shipped, and they use it as a platform for pre-ordering games at this point, essentially, you also have small companies like a Space Goat game that may not be managing their funds appropriately. They may not know the industry as well as a company like CMON. They may not know what it takes to internationally ship. They may not know everything. And so somewhere along the line, the ball was dropped. I think we can all say that. And you may or may not be getting your game. And to me, that is a travesty because they've already cashed your check. That happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I know people have had to sue in the past, and they've had to.
Yeah, I know, but it's in the Kickstarter, license agreement or the agreement. Like, you may not get your shit, so it's hard to sue for that stuff.
Well, they're just saying you may not get your shit, but we're not responsible.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to take that up with Space Goat. Don't come to Kickstarter looking for your money back because guess what? We already cashed your 10%.
Yeah.
So it's just a sad situation.
Yeah.
And I was looking on Kickstarter today, and we normally do a segment that I love, roll the dice or save some cash. And I was looking at it, and I was just like, are we reaching critical saturation point? 15,000 active tabletop games right now. And it's almost too much. Almost like, I'll just wait for it to come out. And guess what? If it is really, really good, there will be a second printing.
Wait, if you're saying that, then that means we can't do our segment. Don't say that. I retract everything I just said. Matthew Wright. So no, I agree. It's been getting that way for a long time. It's it's truly the golden age of board games, so people just want in, and they keep getting in, and there's going to be a crash sometime. So we're going to go through some dark times.
Yeah.
Some hard times.
It's still growing. We're still growing, but as a consumer, I just go to it and I'm just like, ugh, God. Every month, so many games, and all of them look good, and all of them kind of look shitty. And it's so hard to wade through the bullshit at this point, and to just trust reviewers, and to just trust what you're hearing in the echo chamber of Board Game Geek and all these other outlets. It's almost too much, and you just have to you have to formulate your own opinion. So that's why we always take it with a grain of salt, and that's why we call it judge a book by its cover, because that's what you're doing when you go there. You know, it really is like, this looks pretty good, I'm gonna give it a shot. Take my $300.
What's the name of the company that does this?
Space Goat.
Well, Space Goat isn't the only thief on the block lately, are they?
They're not the only thief on the block. And this is some more broken news, but I wanted to touch on this one because this
one bothered you.
This one really bothered me, and for many reasons, all right? It was on Reddit a while ago, within the last probably 45 days or so, that I don't even want to give this guy, I don't even want to name this guy.
Okay.
The artist for Scythe, from Jamie Stegmaier and Stonemeyer Games. Yeah. Apparently he just kind of traced, if you will.
Kind of.
Or just painted over, like, Google Images, all the artwork that became Scythe. So yes, while there is beautiful landscapes and very muted colors and beautiful mechs that were created, also pretty much every image of something that looked like it took time to draw, that was photoshopped and drawn over by the artist. And that, while not infringing on any rights, to me is just unethical. People would agree, people would disagree, it's a polarizing thing, but to me, as someone who, I took art classes in my undergrad, I took every art class available in high school, that's just a no-no. You reference is one thing, but to literally just take something and then color over it and add to it and then call it your own, that's called tracing.
It is, yes.
It's called tracing. I'm conflicted with it because it's just art for a game. You know, it's just art for a game. How important is art? You know, and we talked about Terraforming Mars earlier in Great Western Trail and the artwork and on the box, and you know, it isn't all that important. Mechanics ultimately are what's important. The mechanics in Scythe are really good. It's a fun game with a lot of replay value. But now when I look at it, it used to be like, I would say this is the ultimate in the art.
Yep.
For a board game.
I know, it broke my heart when I saw this. I'm upset about it. I'm really bummed out about it. I'm on the Scythe Facebook group, and Jamie answered a couple questions about it, and he spoke about how he's going to speak with the artist and how things are done. And man, this is heartbreaking because I love the art of Scythe, but it's all stolen. So I guess I can still enjoy it for what it is, but it's a bummer that this guy didn't envision all this in his head. And it's not like he used it as reference. He literally traced stuff, and that's the problem. You're right.
And I'm just conflicted in another way, because this was, you know, we don't have a top 10 list out there, but this is in my top 10 games, and now, like, I just look at this game and I have this sour taste in my mouth about it. Yes, it's still a great game. The mechanics are still great. The art is still beautiful, but when there's this bitterness I feel about it now. And I know that Jamie came out and talked about it on Reddit and all that stuff, and I can't say I agree with the position that he took.
Right.
However, I understand it, and we've moved on from it. You know, it's like, it is dead news, but it's not dead news to me, because that's a game that's going to hit the table, and then I'm going to look at that box, I'm going to look at that art, I'm going to look at that freaking horse and know that he didn't draw that horse.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't draw that horse.
Well.
So, like, it kind of drives me crazy.
That's a shame.
And that is one thing that bothers me when I look at, because in some of the Stronghold games, they literally just take stuff from Google Images because it's free and they slap it on a card. Like, there's some just reskinning. I don't even know what you call that, but I don't like that. I feel like you should commission an artist. You should pay them. And there should be an understanding that I expect original work. That's where it's at. So the artist is to blame. I don't blame the company. This game has been out for multiple years. Other artists have now been involved, like the Airships game, the That was a different artist for the airships and expansion.
Thankfully, Scythe has expanded out and they're done with it. So
Yeah, yeah. It makes me kind of sad.
It does me too, for sure. I mean, this is one of my favorite games, and I'm just bummed about it. But you know what? It's not Jamie Stegmaier's fault. He thought that was legitimate art, so he did what he was supposed to be doing. And so you can't fault him. It is what it is. The game's mechanics are still great. You can still enjoy the art. Just think of it as 2 artists now. So.
No, think of it as 200 artists. 200 artists collaborated to create Scythe. And they all should get a credit in that book. They should have to go back
and redo the whole book.
And do the whole book and give a credit to every Google image that was stolen. And whoever took that photograph should be given credit for it. That's what art's about, giving credit to someone. So,
well, one company that may not notice someone stealing from them is Asmodee. Supposedly, they're up for sale for $1 billion. With a B, Matthew. Billion. Billion. LeBron James net worth, billion. What do you think about that? Board game company, $1 billion.
And they continue to gobble up smaller companies, and then they throw their company on the market for $1 billion.
Some CEOs looking to get rich, looking to ball. They're looking to upgrade that
Somebody
yacht.
Who they really just moved in, took over, monopolized, and they're looking to the quick cash in. They were never ever cared about consumers of board games. They looked for an opportunity, a get really rich opportunity, and now they're taking advantage of it.
So who buys this? Who comes in here and buys this? Is it a group of people, like a group of investors come in and buy it? Oh.
Like a mega toy company.
Wow. I don't know. That does feel weird. They come in, they gobble everything up, and now they're up for sale. This has been a while since it actually got reported. I need to look more into this, but man, $1 billion?
If Hasbro had all the money owed to them from Toys R Us, they'd probably be buying Asmodee.
Oh, they would, wouldn't they? Wow. Man, $1 billion. That still that freaks me out.
This makes me salty too, because I remember a time when Asmodee wasn't this, when they were just their own smaller company.
Yeah.
When I would go to a convention and Fantasy Flight was the biggest,
Yeah.
and then it scaled down from there. And then little by little, it was just like, oh, Days of Wonder gets gobbled up. And then, Fantasy Flight's now part of Asmodee. That's pretty big news.
Yeah.
I'm salty about it because I see that someone struck an opportunity, and hopefully people will retain their jobs.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure it'll be a smooth transfer. They just want that cash.
They want that infrastructure. But yes, whoever owns Asmodee, them and their board of directors and their stockholders could possibly be very happy soon.
About to make it rain at the strip club.
Yes.
Well, they'll probably shut it down. Just like Netrunner, my friend. This one bums me out the most out of these last 3. So Netrunner just recently lost its license. They own the Android. They own the Android universe, but they don't own the Netrunner IP. So Wizards of the Coast owns the Netrunner IP because Netrunner came out in the 90s when Spellfire was out and all this other stuff. And so they licensed it from them. Now that license fell apart. I don't know what happened. There was not much come out from there's a lot of assumptions. A lot of people just think that the stupidest one to me was Magic. They see Magic the Gathering and Android Netrunner as competitors. Obviously, that's not true. There's no one on the block competing with Magic. So
no living card game is even anywhere near touching Magic.
No. So
people go to living card games because they can't handle what Magic is, which is it's dog eat dog. So you gotta go out there, you gotta hunt those cards, you gotta get those packs, you gotta spend that cash, and you gotta roll the dice on that one because it really is just it is lottery style. Sometimes a box is gonna be jacked full of awesomeness, and sometimes you get a box and it's not
they're
that
loot
great.
Boxes. Yeah, they're loot boxes.
They are loot boxes.
They're the original. They're the OG loot boxes.
So you might spend 100 and get 500. You might spend 100 and only get 100.
Yeah.
You might spend 100 and not even get quite 100.
You might not. Yeah.
So those are the options. Yes. When I play a living card game, I know everything that I'm getting, and that's comforting. That doesn't have value, and it definitely doesn't have the competitive scene like Magic And I'm talking about all of them.
Oh, yeah,
Whether
yeah.
it's Netrunner or Legend of the Five Rings or whatever else is popular.
Right. Yeah, so this to me is just a bummer because I love the mechanics of Netrunner. The art is absolutely phenomenal. The game plays so well. You know, it's not like you have to stop playing it, though. There's a lot of cards out there, and the last expansion's coming out soon, and there wasn't a lot of print run on this, and it actually sold out. They weren't giving enough regions enough of this expansion. They actually just tweeted today they're going to reprint, do a second reprint, and make sure everyone can get the copies of it. So that's really cool. They're at least going out correctly. You know what I mean? They could have just printed like a little bit, sent it out, and like whatever.
They didn't know what was left in
exactly.
the world of Android Netrunner, meaning like...
It sounds like they had this expansion planned, and they didn't know... They didn't know that whether they could do it or not, yeah. And so it just feels like this is what they're going out on, which is, man, a bummer. This game was so good. So I would love to know the truth of why that license fell through, whether Fantasy Flight didn't want it or they didn't want to license it to Fantasy Flight. So that's kind of where we're at. It's done. It's sad. I'm in the Netrunner Facebook group too, and they are constantly posting stuff. And it was just really sad a lot, just seeing how bummed out everybody was. And I felt like this game could have kept going. Maybe it wasn't as profitable as people thought, so maybe it wasn't doing as well. But they were just making expansions and expansion, and it just seemed like everyone was all over them. So what a bummer.
I kind of feel like it's a sad referendum on this gaming as a whole. Every game is like this. It has a shelf life. You know, some games will stay in your collection forever and maybe hit the table for many, many number of years. But in general, most games, it's only going to be a few years, and then it's over and it's done if you're lucky. Yeah.
See, I'm really considering picking up the rest of the cards. I have about maybe 60% of all the cards. It's going to be a couple hundred to pick it up. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like if I get the rest, then I'll have them, and then I'll just be able to keep playing. But, man, what if they make up and then Netrunner 2nd Edition comes out? That's where I'm going to be like, God, I can't believe I wasted money. Because that happened with Game of Thrones.
Yes, it did.
So that's where I'm worried. But it sounds like the license is gone, so it sounds like we're done skis. So, I don't know. Conflicted. I'm gonna sit on it for a while before I spend a bunch of cash on a game that supposedly is going to die.
And that was all the latest news and gossip in the dirt sheets. Thank you for listening to episode 12 of the Fighting Dirty podcast. I know it's a shorter episode.
Hey, we came at you quick and hard.
Hey, they call me the jackhammer. We're available on YouTube. Just search Fighting Dirty Podcast. We have some content on there. We're also available on Twitter at @fighting_dirty. We have a Facebook page, the Fighting Dirty Podcast page. As always, we are available for download on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud. Please share us with your gaming friends and take a moment and leave a review.
Please.
Thank you for downloading the show and allowing us into your gaming lives. Until next time, Gary Baxter, thank you for joining me.
See ya! Save your cash.